Welcome to today's video where I'm going to be featuring the Clionadh Cosmetics Earth Vibrant Multichromes. This is one of the formulas they have to offer in the stained glass collection. I have lots of swatch videos, swatch comparison videos with Clionadh Cosmetics. In this video, we're going to go even more in depth and I'm going to swatch each of the shades individually. We're going to talk about the color and then I'm going to be showing you a couple of looks. I'm not going to be doing comparison swatches in this video as I already have done comparison swatches in previous videos and I will link those in the description box. And I'm including one shade here. This was a gift with purchase in a recent, I believe it was either a sale or restock. It's called Masonry and this one is going to be getting added to the Earth Vibrant lineup. So I thought I would feature it now in this video. It's a beautiful neutral cool tone leaning shade. So I'm very excited to swatch it for you and show you how it looks. And the rest of the shades were gifted to me by Clionadh Cosmetics and I do have an affiliate code which I will put up on the screen. And thank you so much if you do use my code. So let's get right into it. So first I'm going to show you Masonry, which is the newest shade, and this one so far has only been a gift with purchase, but it is going to be becoming permanent. So this shade to describe is a medium taupe gray base with platinum lime green aqua shift. I see also a lot of pink and gold sparkles throughout it. This is a great neutral multi-chrome that is definitely going to be an everyday staple. Next up is Cobblestone, and this one is described as a grungy gray base with icy pink and peach and gold shifts. I definitely see the gold all the way at the end here. It's almost like a pale yellow to me, at least in person, and it is definitely a very cool toned pink. And the Earth Vibrant formula has very smooth shades. All of these are very smooth, really finely milled types of shades. Definitely no skin texture accentuation. These pick up on the brush super easily. Rosarium is described as having a cool brown base with red, orange, and gold shifts. For sure, lots of shifting going on. I feel like this one's a little extra sparkly, but still remaining smooth. This is one of 3 shades that is the newest to this collection at the time that I'm filming this. This originally launched as part of the mystery bundle for the 12-day countdown of mystery shadows, and I do have an eye swatch of that one in that video I did on that bundle, and I will link it down in the description box. You can see it in action on the eyes. This is such a stunner. I wouldn't necessarily call this a red. I think it's more of a pinky red. I would describe the red not like a true red, more of a pinky red for sure. It really doesn't translate to like a true red. Next up is Royal Peach. This is described as yellow base with red, orange, gold chartreuse shifts. And I also do see pink flecks throughout it, but for sure that orange, yellow shift. A little bit of the chartreuse, but I feel like I mostly really see the gold. And I think this is a great everyday shade. Orchard is also one of the newer shades to the Earth Vibrant lineup. This shade is described as a rich forest green base that shifts bright coral, orange, yellow, lime. Now I see a very strong teal base to it, kind of just looking at it straight on. And also it's definitely like a cooler toned pink straight on. I kind of see this as like a grungier sister of the Cosmos and also a smoother version, but it does shift all the way to that forest, beautiful forest green. And this one, because it goes so many shades, it just looks really shifty, and I do have an eye swatch of this one in that same video featuring the 12-day mystery bundle that will be linked in the description box. Such a shifty, really smooth, beautiful shade. Sculpture is the 3rd newest shade to the lineup, and I also have an eye swatch of this shade. This one is described as a warm gray base that shifts pink, pewter, lime, emerald, and I definitely think that's an accurate description. Such a beautiful, really grungy shade. This one is a little bit less kind of sheer. I think this one for sure, like the previous shade, have more of a base. Bronze Fountain, definitely one of my favorites. This is an ultra dimensional shade that is described as having a terracotta base with gold, lime, and aqua shifts. I for sure think that's an extremely accurate description of the shade. I see all of that, and I mean, look at that base. Terracotta is truly the best way to describe it. There's a little bit of that blue, the aqua, super smooth and very opaque. Estate is described as having a brown base with golden, yellow, lime, aqua shifts. Definitely think there is that brown base. I would actually say it's a lighter terracotta than Bronze Fountain, but very similar in the tone of that base. And there's definitely lots of gold, yellow, reflex in the shade and tons of green as well. I do think this could be a good everyday kind of shade. Iron Gate, this one is for sure a favorite. I find this one very unique. This one is described as having a grungy mauve base with peach, gold, lime, aqua shifts. Lots of dimensionality with this one. Great everyday kind of shade. Very, very smooth and just really super shifty. Really fun pop of a multi-chrome for an everyday. I just love the mauve base on this one. Royal Pear is another favorite. It is a beautiful grungy grassy green base. And this one is described as having a muted lime base with pearly pink peach lime shifts. Definitely see that for sure. It's a cooler toned pink straight on. And then that shift just really goes into like a really interesting lime. And that base is just so fun on this one. If you're a grungy lover, definitely recommend. Hedge Maze is described as a slate gray base with gold lime teal shift, and that definitely describes the shade perfectly. Look at this shift. It is so beautiful, so magical. And I think because of its strong shift, it makes this one a little bit more vibrant from this collection. Wall of Ivy is described as having a warm brown base with lime, aqua, indigo shifts. If you love greens, and especially with brownish base, which I think makes them even more wearable, if you're a fan of Verte from the Deep Iridescent formula, that is also part of the stained glass collection, then you'll definitely love this one. And I do have these two compared in a video, which will be linked down in the description box. I do think this one's a little bit less of like a true like forest green. Climbing Vine is definitely the most colorful shade out of the entire lineup here. And it is described as having a teal base with blue, indigo, violet, pink shifts. I think I see a little bit of the pink, but I really mostly see like maybe it's like a pinky purple, a bit of periwinkle, lots of blue for sure. This shade is also a little bit extra sparkly while still remaining very smooth. Royal Plum has a dusty plum base with pink, gold, lime, and aqua shifts. This is a really, really cool tone, beautiful eggplanty kind of purple. If you love these kinds of tones, and this one is for sure for you. It's very opaque, definitely not something you can just sheer out, but it is a stunner and very shifty as well. And last but certainly not least is Statue Garden. This one is described as a muted teal base with pink to orange and yellow shift. This one is a bit more satin, so it's not as shiny as the rest of the shades in here, but it's very, very smooth. And I think this one you could kind of blend out pretty easily if you wanted just like a little bit of a lighter touch. But this one is such a beautiful, very unique shade, very, very grungy. Love this one. For the mattes, I'm going to be dipping into this Esum palette I've been testing out. You're going to see it in an upcoming video featuring the Queen Cosmetics eyeshadows. So I thought I would just continue using it. So for the first look, I'm going to dip into Iron Gate. I feel like this one's going to be such a stunner, and I really like that there's the different tones kind of really separated out, and of course you can dip in between them. So I'm going to be dipping into this column. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you could take it out. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. You can just like completely take it out, and there's shade names on the back. Okay. Ooh. So I'm going to be using Hinoki, Ceylon, and oh, that just fell out. Oh, that's actually really cool because then you'll be able to do like a little BYOP once they launch even more of these, which I saw that they launched a very springy one. I was contemplating getting it, but I was like, let me. So first taking Ceylon, and I'm just going to put that onto the outer corner, and I'm going to slowly swipe it inwards to my inner crease. And I'm just going to connect it a little bit with the, and then I'm picking up the shade above it. And I'm just going to use that to help blend this out on the edge. And I'm taking a little bit more and just adding it on. And then picking up the darkest shade. I'm just popping that on the outer corner. And just a little bit underneath my lower lash line just to deepen it up just a little bit. That added just a little bit of depth, but really little bit. I have found that these are pretty hard pressed and they're extremely buildable. So for this very smooth formula, I like to use these types of brushes. So this one is completely really flat. I think I have some even flatter brushes like this. You could also use something like this. So this one doesn't have any kind of amount of floof on the sides. So this kind of brush is great for picking up really smooth shades. You could also use the Refer 21 type of brush where it has just a little bit of tooth on the side. So it has a little bit more substance, so it's not fully flat like this other brush. So I'm going to demonstrate it with this one, which this one is just from P. Louise, but these kinds of brushes are honestly everywhere. So I like to pick it up on the brush and then mist it with just a little bit of water, just a tiny bit. And then this is just really going to help glide it on. I'm just going to add a little bit more in here as well. And here's the first finished look. For the second look, I'm going to be using Wall of Ivy paired with Royal Pear. I feel like this would be a fun combination. Dipping into this brown right here. And it's going to go into the crease. Definitely buildable mattes with this palette, but I did use the P. Louise kind of tackier base, not the paint, but the Rumor, I think it's called. I'm not sure if it's still called that, but it blends out really nicely. So just added a little bit of depth, and I'm just gonna fling it outwards over here a little bit. And I think that's super nice. I'm gonna add just a little bit more in here, just going in full on depth, and then picking up the shade right above it and just melting that into the outer portion of that to create really nice blend. Picking up this brown, really deep brown, and I'm gonna create an eyeshadow wing a little bit. Just gonna take it about halfway in my lid and then just start to kind of flick it out. And I'm just gonna slowly add more to connect with my lower lash line and just flick it out a little bit further. And just add a little bit more. And I think that's pretty good. I don't want it to go too far out, which is funny saying that now. And then going into the Wall of Ivy shade, I'm going to be using this time the Refer 21 brush and just picking up, and this is how it picks up super nicely. And again, just going to lightly mist it with just some water, and that's going to go kind of in the center of my lid. And then I'm going to wipe off this brush, and I'm going to be picking up, and then I wiped off the brush and I'm picking up a Royal Pear just like that, and again misting it, and that's just going to go in the inner corner. And I'm going to kind of bring it up a little bit up here and just hug Wall of Ivy here, kind of blend them together. And then I'm taking a little bit of Wall of Ivy and I'm actually just going to bring it outwards just to make sure it's nice and blended there. And then I'm going to go back in with that dark brown on this brush and just kind of bring it back. I got overlaid a little bit too much. I kind of want to see the matte. It's still a little bit overlaid, so that's fine. But so here's the second finished look. For the third look, I'm going to be switching to Viseart. So I'm going to be dipping into the Editorial Brights palette and then the dark mattes. I'm going to be using Royal Peach as well as Rosarium. So I'm dipping into this bright yellow. So I'm going to put that onto the inner third of my lid. I'm essentially just tapping it on. I'm using the Refer 13 brush. Just going to bring it up a little bit. And then I think on the rest of the lid, I'm going to go in with a little bit more of a grungier vibe. So I'm going to be dipping into the dark mattes, and I'm going to be dipping into this and then this. So first the lighter orange, kind of in the center. I feel like these kinds of looks where you just do like 1, 2, 3 are pretty simple and easy. You just have to make sure you're using shades that are next to each other on the color wheel to make sure that you don't get any muddiness. And then wiping off this brush and taking the darker orange. Look at that pigmentation. That is what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna feather it a little bit. I'm wiping off my brush because there's still a lot of product left on there. And I'm just gonna blend this out. I'm not gonna use another shade to blend this. I'm just gonna do circular motions and work the product outwards that I put down. There's plenty of eyeshadow left to be able to blend it outwards. And I'm actually gonna go back in with a little bit of the other orange. I feel like there's not a lot of it now. Like this one kind of took over. I put it a little too far in. And there it is. So then I'm gonna be using Rosarium, and this time I'm gonna use this ColourPop brush that I talked about earlier. And again, just misted my brush, and I'm gonna concentrate that about halfway onto the outer corner. So outwards essentially. And I'm going to bring it just a tiny bit under too. And then I'm gonna wipe this off. Picked up Royal Peach, and I misted my brush, and this one's actually just ever so slightly more sparkly. So this one might get a little bit more fallout, and that's just gonna go on the inner half. And I'm gonna go back with this brush that I'm wiping off, and I'm just gonna feather the edge of that. And then I do have a little bit of fallout. And then I'm just gonna use this brush, and I'm just gonna actually flick things upwards, because this way you're going against the grain, so you're flicking them up versus flattening them down. Usually it works pretty decently, but sometimes I've also done 2 looks already, so I do have just a bit more eyeshadow on my lid, and I was wearing a look before this when I was going into work. And then I'm gonna take a clean, kind of smaller kind of brush. There's nothing on it, and I'm just going over the edges. Such a fun, sunny look. Back to the Esom palette, I'm going to be dipping into this column to create a very smoky, plummy look. First dipping into the center shade, and I'm going to pop that onto the outer corner and slowly blend it in. And I want to keep this kind of lifted up, but we'll see about that, because sometimes my hand slips and I have to readjust the angle. So I'm just bringing that out here, really focusing it. And then I'm going to wipe off the brush, and I'm going to take the shade above it and just further blend that out. Next, taking the Deep Plum, and I'm going to put that onto the outer corner. I do feel like this is not really building that nicely. I feel like there's definitely a lot of back and forth. Like and I do appreciate layerable mattes, but not all the time, you know, like I have to be looking for that, to be wanting to dip into that. And I feel like it's kind of blending away a little bit, so not a huge fan, but I want this to be really, really smoky. So I'm gonna dip it into the black that's right next to it. And I'm just gonna really pop it in right where my hood is, so I have room to blend it out. Which is why it's really, really, really beneficial to use very small brushes. So then I'm taking the Rephr 14, and I'm just gonna start blending out, and I'm gonna try to kind of wing it upwards. I'm gonna dip into the plum, the Deep Plum, and just add a little bit more depth and just keep blending. Taking a clean brush, and actually I'm going to pick up the beige shade that's in the palette, and I'm just going to take it right here. Picked up Royal Plum on Rephr 21, and I misted my brush. And this is going to go close to my lash line. I'm leaving this area blank for now, and I'm just going to be slowly feathering that outwards into the smoky section. And then I'm wiping off this brush. Next I picked up Statue Garden, and I picked it up kind of on the tip portion of the brush, and I misted it with just some water again. And I'm gonna put that right above it. And just a little bit more in here. And then I am gonna take one of the brushes that I used previously. I'm just gonna take the Rephr 13. I'm just gonna feather the edges of that, make sure I have a nice, smooth, cohesive look here. And here's the final look. And that's everything for this video. Let me know in the comments below which shade is your favorite and also which look was your favorite. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.